Alright, what's up everyone? Just a real quick Cork Stats Express tutorial on that pitching sheet that everyone seems to love so much. Thank you very much. Hat tip to everybody. Follow me on Twitter at MLB Moving AVG. I'm putting out this advanced pitcher sheet every single day. Advanced everything you could think of. Splits. And then hat tip to my man Joke at JOKE, 4 E's with an underscore. You can just check me out on Twitter. And you'll see his stuff. I've kind of been connecting. I've been trying to make this sheet better and better, adding splits and stuff like that, but now as it's getting popularity, let's just explain some of it. I know it could look like a bit much. All right, let's get into it. Right off the bat, I always like to use OPS next to WHIP and ERA. If you notice, if you're scrolling left to right, those will stick. I like to use OPS because it's a third point on the line. Any 2 points make a line. So ERA and WHIP, if they're not the same, right, you could look at the board. I'm using July 30th. It just happens to be today, but it's the same thing all the time. If a WHIP is really low but the ERA is high, something like an OPS can help you solve which direction to go in. I especially like OPS. On base and slug is really where it's at. Over to the next one is earn run indicators. And I know this one kind of has people scratching and stuff like that. This is one of the places where, you know when they say less is more? This one, more is more. They're all different. None of them are perfect. So I find the best way to do it is aggregate them. You see FIP, XFIP, Sierra, PCRA, and D. ERA, FIP, XFIP, and Sierra are all very popular. If I had to choose one of all these, it's probably Sierra. However, they all describe slightly different things you'll see across the board. Usually none really pop too far off the page. PCRA is developed by Connor Kirkin. He's picked up by the Astros. That number is posted on Alex Chamberlain's board. DERA is deserved ERA. It's more of a contact-based metric. And then if you see MLB MA, that's me. MLB moving averages. It's just an average of all of them to give you an idea. Again, if you really wanted to test, you could probably find what weighted average looks perfect. I may or may not have done that, but this is just to give you a quick idea of it. If I had to use one up against ERA to look for validation, it would be the MLB MA row. All right, it's just a strict average, and to help you understand all this information at once. I mean, that's what we're doing here. So that first bit is pretty easy to get. You're looking at the left 4 columns up to OPS, and then MLB MA for the average. That's the best aggregated earn run indicator right now. Of course, you could go further, but again, sometimes too much is too much. Next page, discipline. You notice I like to have these things in baskets. The idea being you read it in order, left to right. I've been hearing a few people talk about scraping some of this data and removing bits. Do not remove any of this. This is what you need to learn how to read this. That's what's most important, and it reads left to right. So we started with surface stats and earn run indicators, those probably being the least important, but still the first place you start because it probably is the best descriptor. But that's about it. You really can't act on WHIP and ERA alone, even with all the indicators, because they fail to describe strikeouts and stuff like that. Takes us into the next basket, discipline. Of course, this matters very much for pitchers. Swing and miss, putting guys on base, everything that matters. FBV is fastball velocity, K percent, walk percent, you got. K minus walk, you got. Swinging strike, you understand. CSW is called strikes plus whiffs. Swinging strike is great, whiff rate is great, but called strikes also matter, right? Sometimes a changeup or a curveball is the strike pitch and it buckles a hitter. So if a hitter is buckled, that's definitely a good thing. Called strikes also matter. CSW we want above 30, but again, you'll notice every day it's formatted to give you an idea of the best and worst on the slate. Let's keep going left to right. Whiff rate is whiff per swing opposed to swinging strike, so they're going to be a little different, but of course they're going to track exactly the same. The next two are location metrics. Heart is the center pink box on Savant. Shadow is the outside yellow box. These I don't really react to too much. Some pitchers can win in the zone, other pitchers cannot. So you always need a little bit of nuance here. A guy like Corbin Burns can have a high heart percentage. He'll be just fine. A bad pitcher with a bad fastball that has a high heart percentage is going to suffer, right? So it's not something you could just react to, but it definitely is part of the calculus. Then first strike rate, of course, getting ahead, super important. Foul ball rate, really important. As far as like my bettors go, my DFS players and the prop guys go, you strikeout prop guys go, foul balls matter so much. We do pretty easily. If the pitching workload on average for a pitcher is 100 pitches, every pitch is a percent. Every foul ball is 1% of that workload. A guy's up there fouling off 3 or 4, 5 pitches. 5% of the workload really could help you get to where you need to be. Again, anything over 20 is really, really poor. Then O-swing is chase rate. Z-con is zone contact. These things are exactly what they sound like. O-swing, how often can you get chases outside the zone? The average is 32. In-zone contact rate is, again, just that. If you see that a pitcher does not get swings and misses, does not induce chases, does not get ahead, those numbers are low, then you're looking for a high in-zone contact rate. If you're looking on the hitter's side, the in-zone contact rate, exactly what it sounds like. A bad number for a pitcher is anything above 88. So that's really the second basket there. And then again, BABIP is batting average on balls in play. You always want to look at it, but I feel like when you're using all this other stuff to be descriptive, BABIP is really not that important because we don't really care. We're not really looking so much at outcomes. So again, try not to eliminate these columns. They're all very, very important as you read it. Do they get swings and misses? Do they put players on base? Where in the zone are they working? Are they efficient? Do they get chases, or do they have to come into the zone? And if so, there's the last basket, right? So you can see where we're going from discipline, right? That was the first one. After surface stats lead us into elevation and batted ball quality. The idea being, if you don't get swings and misses and you give up a lot of contact, how high is the ball hit, how low is the ball hit, and then how hard is it hit. And here's the combination of them all. So the next basket is elevation. The one after that, batted ball quality. Again, the elevation one is pretty self-explanatory, so I thought I could clump them together. Line drive rate is just that to remember. LD percentage is accounted by BIS, that's Baseball Information Solutions, on Fangraphs. It has a subjective element. That's part of why I like it, because a human actually says, well, that was a line drive opposed to a ground ball. Opposed to Savant, when you use StatCast metrics, those are all binned by objective parameters, meaning like degrees, anything below or above. I'm going to get a little bit into that more in a second, and I'll help you understand this a bit more. So remember, line drive rate, ground ball, fly ball, by these are BIS. Ground ball rate, we want to, if we're behind a pitcher, if we're going to back a pitcher, we want it over 40%. That's a high ground ball rate. Same for fly ball rate. Anything over 40 is a high fly ball rate. Then home run to fly ball, which can be a good guide to look for some regression. But the more I get into this, also I'm noticing maybe not so much, because certain pitches have certain characteristics that end up in the seats. And that's why you see it just needs nuance and context, and I think that's the point of this. Over into the very last basket, again, just batted ball quality. You'll notice 2 hard hit rates. This might be one of the most important things to understand. People oftentimes step on the rake and make this mistake. I'm a poet, didn't even know it. Hard hit rate FG, HHFG, is what I mentioned before. Baseball Information Solutions. There's an subjective element to it, which I like. HH95, that's the hard hit rate you'd find on Savant or StatCast. That's a raw 90-mile-an-hour metric. You'll notice that these two things can be really different. That because of exactly what I mentioned. A ball can be hit at 100 miles an hour on the ground, and it might not be graded by a human as a hard hit ball. That is the difference. People often ask me which is the best. The answer, of course, is both. You want to use them together. You want to know raw hard hit rate opposed to BIS, but usually the answer is found in elevation generally, right? Generally, if you have a high hard hit rate allowed as a pitcher, Baseball Information Solutions, then the elevation is probably poor as well. Then to barrel, which we know is probably the best, or it was at least, the best result you could get, although now we've gone into blast, which are the ideal subset of barrels. Just think of, if this is a barrel, this is a blast. It tightens the window. People started noticing, especially with changes in the ball, it was a good idea to look at the difference. And if they track together, then they're fine. Sometimes they don't always track together and help you learn something about either the hitter or the pitcher. But again, barrel and blast, extremely similar, lots of overlap. Don't use them both to validate something. You use them together in accordance. And then, of course, the all-important home run per 9 is exactly that. Anything over 1.4 is really bad for a pitcher. Anything over like 1.7, 1.8, as a DFS player, prop guy, that's what we want to go after, right? It's one of the first places you're going to look. And then the very last two columns, again, really where you're focusing first during the day when you're looking for total base props, or you're looking for stacks and DFS, or you're looking for over plays if you're betting, is expected WOBA and XCon, which is expected WOBA on contact. So XWOBA includes on base walks. Expected on contact is strictly on contact. The reason we really like this is when we've, again, don't eliminate columns, as we've read across the board, left to right, and we identify the pitcher. He doesn't get swings and misses. He doesn't get ahead. He doesn't induce chases. So he has a high in-zone contact rate when he comes in the zone, and then we identify a high fly ball rate because of a high hard hit rate on BIS. Then you can use the strict contact metrics like expected WOBA on contact. I've shortened it to XCon or XWO Bacon for some people. When you have a contact rate at 88 or above, feel free to use that contact stat. That's enough contact allowed to expect it, and I think that will do it, everybody. I was hoping to keep this right at 10 minutes. That's exactly where we're at. This is the Cork Stats YouTube channel. We're maybe back in action at some point. I ended up moving the show over to Mayo Media Net. If you're unfamiliar, please check it out Monday through Friday, bringing that smoke. Man, really, there's nothing like it. Rate, review, and subscribe over there, Mayo Media Net. Check me out on Twitter, MLB Moving AVG on the Bird app. Yo, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope you enjoy the pitching tool. You know, don't be afraid of it. Don't look to dissect it and break it to pieces. Try and use it the way it is, especially with the formatting. It's really going to highlight the best and the worst on the slate. All right, yo, enjoy the games, enjoy your day. When we're done with the book, enjoy that pay, everybody. Hope you appreciate the tutorial. This thing will be up there on the sheet every single day. Peace, yo.